It's 2 a.m. The house is silent, and you get that sudden craving. You pick up your phone, open an app, and with just a few taps, food is on its way. It feels safe. It feels convenient. You expect a burger, maybe some fries, but you never expect who or what might be waiting on the other side of your door.
This happened to me about 6 months ago. To give you some context, I live in a ground floor apartment in a fairly busy part of the city. Being on the ground floor has its perks. No stairs, easy moving, but it also means my windows are right at eye level with the sidewalk. I've always been a bit paranoid about it, keeping the blinds shut tight, especially at night. But you know how it is. You get comfortable. You forget that just a few inches of glass separates you from the strangers outside. It was a Tuesday night, I think. I couldn't sleep. I was binge-watching a series on Netflix, and around 1:30 a.m., hunger struck. I didn't have anything in the fridge, so I grabbed my phone and opened a food delivery app. I ordered a simple meal from a 24-hour diner nearby. The app said, "Estimated delivery time, 25 minutes." I put my phone down, paused the TV, and just scrolled through social media to kill time. The silence in the apartment was heavy. Usually I don't mind it, but that night, the silence felt different, like the calm before a storm. About 20 minutes later, I checked the app. The little car icon was turning onto my street. A few seconds later, I heard it. The distinct, high-pitched hum of a scooter engine. It got louder, then stopped right outside my building. I sat up on the couch, expecting the usual routine. Step 1, car door slams, or kickstand sound. Step 2, footsteps approaching. Step 3, the knock. I heard the kickstand go down. I heard heavy boots scuffing against the pavement. And then silence. I waited for the knock. 10 seconds passed. Nothing. 30 seconds passed. Still nothing. My phone lit up. A notification from the app. Your driver is approaching. Then, immediately after, your driver has arrived. I frowned. If he's here, why isn't he knocking? I have leave it door turned off. I always meet them to grab the food. I stood up, feeling a weird knot form in my stomach. You know that gut feeling that tells you something is wrong before your brain even processes it? I had that. I walked quietly to the hallway. The floorboards creaked slightly, and I froze, wincing at the noise.
I reached the front door. The hallway lights outside are motion activated, but they weren't on. That means he hadn't moved enough to trigger them, or he was standing perfectly still. I leaned in and pressed my eye against the peephole. The fisheye lens distorted the view, but I could see him clearly. A man, tall, wearing a dark hoodie. He was holding the paper bag with the restaurant's logo, but
He wasn't standing in front of the door waiting. He was pressed against it. His head was turned sideways. His ear was literally touching the wood of my door. He wasn't delivering food. He was listening. My blood ran cold. Why would a delivery driver be listening to the inside of my apartment? Was he trying to hear if I was alone? Was he waiting for footsteps? I held my breath. I was terrified that if I exhaled, he could hear me through the door, just like I could hear him shifting his weight outside. Suddenly, the silence was shattered. My phone, which I was clutching in my hand, started to ring. It was the app. The driver was calling me. For a split second, I felt relief. Maybe he's just confused. Maybe he's calling to say he's here. I looked back through the peephole, expecting to see him holding his phone to his ear. But he wasn't. Both of his hands were visible. One hand was holding the food bag. The other hand was on my door handle. I watched in horror as the silver handle on the inside of my door began to slowly, silently turn downwards. My phone was ringing in my hand, echoing in the quiet apartment. But outside, his phone was ringing in his pocket. He wasn't calling me to talk. He was calling me to distract me. Or to mask the sound of him picking the lock. The lock clicked. He had bypassed the first lock. The door moved a fraction of an inch. The adrenaline hit me all at once. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just screamed. I yelled at the top of my lungs, "Leave the food and go! I'm calling the cops!" Through the peephole, I saw him freeze. He didn't look scared. He slowly pulled his head back from the door and looked directly into the peephole. Even though he couldn't see me, I felt like he was staring right into my soul. Then, a slow, sickly smile spread across his face. He dropped the food bag on the floor, turned around, and sprinted away. I heard the scooter engine roar to life and fade into the distance. I fell back against the wall, shaking uncontrollably. I double-locked the door and dragged a chair under the handle before calling 911. When the police arrived, they took a report, but they told me something that made it 10 times worse. They contacted the delivery company. The account used to deliver my food? It had been reported stolen 3 hours earlier. The real driver had been carjacked. The man at my door wasn't a driver. He was using the app to find easy targets. People who would unlock their doors late at night for a stranger. I still live in that apartment, but I installed 3 new deadbolts and a camera. And now, if I get hungry after midnight, I just stay hungry. My phone was ringing in my hand, echoing in the quiet apartment. But outside, his phone was ringing in his pocket. He wasn't calling me to talk. He was calling me to distract me, or to mask the sound of him picking the lock. The lock clicked. He had bypassed the first lock. The door moved a fraction of an inch. The adrenaline hit me all at once. I didn't think, I didn't plan, I just screamed. I yelled at the top of my lungs, "Leave the food and go! I'm calling the cops!" Have you ever felt like your things aren't quite where you left them? Maybe a cabinet door is open and you swore you closed it. Or maybe your toothbrush is wet, but you haven't used it yet. We ignore these signs. We tell ourselves we're forgetful. We tell ourselves it's nothing. But sometimes it's not nothing. Sometimes it's someone. We ignore the signs until it's too late. This happened a few years ago. around the Eid holidays. My entire family had packed up and left to visit relatives in the countryside. I stayed behind because I had a pile of work deadlines that couldn't wait. Honestly, I was looking forward to it. A big, empty house, no noise, just me, my work, and our golden retriever, Max. The first night was fine, but by the second day, the silence started to feel heavy. You know that feeling when a house is too quiet? Every creak of the floorboards sounds like a footstep. I started noticing small things, things that didn't make sense. I'd come into the kitchen and find the milk carton left on the counter. I thought, did I make coffee and forget to put it back? I blamed it on stress. Then there was the bathroom. One morning I walked in and found the shower mat was damp. Not soaking wet, just moist, like someone had stood there recently. My mind immediately rationalized it. Humidity, I told myself. It's just the humidity. But the weirdest thing was Max. Our dog is usually the friendliest creature on earth, but for 2 days straight, he kept staring at the hallway that leads to the guest room and the heavy curtains near the living room. He would just stand there and growl, low, guttural growls at absolutely nothing. It was the second night alone. I decided to take a break from work. I ordered some food, grabbed a glass of water, and sat down in the living room to watch a movie. Ironically, I was watching a thriller. I wanted to embrace the spooky vibe of being home alone. I turned off all the lights, plunging the room into darkness except for the flickering blue light of the TV screen. I was sitting on the large sofa, the one that has its back to the main heavy curtains and the large storage closet. I was completely absorbed in the movie. The house was dead silent. Max was asleep in my bedroom upstairs. Then, my phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a sharp, vibrating sound that made me jump. I paused the movie. The room went pitch black. I picked up my phone. The screen was bright, hurting my eyes. It was a notification from our smart home app. Specifically, the pet cam we keep on the bookshelf to check on the dog when we're at work. The notification read, "Motion detected, living room, 11:43 p.m. I looked at the time. It was 11:43 p.m. I actually chuckled. I said out loud to the empty room, "Stupid camera. Obviously it detects motion. I'm sitting right here." I thought the camera had just lagged and picked up my movement when I reached for the pizza. Curiosity got the best of me, though. I unlocked my phone and tapped the notification to view the 10-second clip it had recorded. The video loaded. It was in that grainy night vision black and white mode. I saw myself on the screen. I saw the back of my head sitting on the couch. I saw the TV flickering in front of me. But the motion trigger wasn't me. My blood turned to ice. In the video, while I was staring at the TV, the heavy velvet curtain directly behind the couch moved. Slowly, a pale, dirty hand emerged from the darkness behind me. The hand reached out, inches from my neck, and grabbed the glass of water I had set on the side table. The figure didn't come out fully, just an arm. The hand took the cup, disappeared back behind the curtain, and then, a few seconds later, placed the empty cup back on the table. I was watching this on my phone, and I realized I was still sitting in that exact spot. The person wasn't just in the house, he was standing directly behind me, right now. I have never felt terror like that in my life. The primal urge to scream was overwhelming, but my instinct told me, if you react, you die. I could hear breathing, not my own. Faint, rasping breaths coming from directly behind my head. I didn't turn around. I I didn't look back to check if he was there. I stood up, pretending I was just going to the kitchen. I walked calmly for about 3 steps. Then I bolted. I sprinted for the front door, unlocked it with shaking hands, and threw myself out into the cold night air. I didn't stop running until I was in the middle of the street, under the streetlights. I called 911, screaming that there was someone in my house. The police arrived in under 10 minutes. They entered with guns drawn. They found him. It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't a monster. It was a homeless man. He had been living in our house for at least 3 days. He had set up a makeshift bed inside the large walk-in storage closet behind the living room curtains. He had been eating our food, using our shower, and watching us. When the police dragged him out, he wasn't fighting. He was smiling. But the detail that haunts me to this day is not that he was there. It's what they found in his pocket when they searched him. He had one of our large kitchen knives. The police told me that based on the camera angle, he had been standing over me with that knife while I was watching the movie, debating whether to use it or just take the water. He chose the water. I moved out of that house a month later. I couldn't sleep there anymore. So please, if your toothbrush feels wet, or if things aren't where you left them, don't ignore it. Check the closets.